Hi, and welcome back to Better You. I want to ask you all a question. Have you ever wondered if ghosts are real? Have you ever wondered, do we have people out there that actually search for ghosts? Well, you're in luck today, because today I have some paranormal investigators here to talk about that. But before we start talking, let's go around and introduce ourselves. Your name, sir?
My name is Chris Rushing. I'm the founder and director of State Paranormal Investigations.
And?
My name is Dave Hodges. I'm the assistant director of State Paranormal Investigations.
My name is Jeff Riley, and I'm an investigator for State Paranormal Investigations.
And I'm Sandra Handy, and I handle PR for State Paranormal.
And so, where are you guys out of? Are you out of the Charlotte area?
We are based in Gaston County, North Carolina, in the Gastonia area. Myself live in Dallas, and Dave himself lives in Gastonia.
So, what exactly is paranormal activity?
Paranormal activity is actually any type of activity that's outside the normal range of knowledge or anything that's not normal and known to the scientific community.
And so, what exactly does that mean? You said a lot there. What exactly does that mean?
Well, paranormal activity means pretty much things that cannot be explained by natural means or scientific methods. Say someone says, well, a chair moved in my house, no one was near it. That can classify as paranormal activity. There's other things that can classify as paranormal activity, like UFO sightings and actually Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster. Those type of sightings can also fall into paranormal activity.
But you all deal mostly with ghost sightings?
Yes, ma'am. Ghost sightings and hauntings.
So what exactly is a ghost?
A ghost is the disembodied spirit of a person who was once living.
And are there animal ghosts?
Well, there's different opinions and different, lores and legends about animal ghosts. There's different people who believe different things. But yes, there are certain lores and legends and stories of animal spirits, locomotive spirits, even shipwrecks. There's even people who said they've seen the ship of the Titanic before. And so, there's other things that's out there besides human spirits.
So what does a ghost look like? If one were to come in here, what would we be looking at?
Well, ghosts are definitely something that's interesting to study because they don't necessarily take on a certain form all the time. Certain spirits can be just like a mist, cloudy, smoke form. Others could be like a shadow, that goes across the wall. Others can actually manifest and to the point where you can actually look at it like I'm looking at you or you looking at me, to where you can actually tell what kind of clothing it's wearing or the hair color or hairstyle that it has.
So whenever you all go on your ghosts, I don't want to say hunting, but that's what it is, right?
Well, paranormal investigations.
Okay. What exactly do you do?
Well, the first thing we want to do is when we show up or the client contacts us, is to find out what the claims are, find out exactly what is going on, how often is it happening, what part of the house is it happening in, and who is it happening to the most. The next thing we're going to do is our historian is going to start doing research on the location and finding out, was the place sitting on a historical site, like say a Civil War battle or a Revolutionary War battle, or maybe the ground was Native American grounds at one point in time. We look in to see if anybody has died or was murdered in the house. We look at other things and just find out what kind of mineral compositions are in the ground. So there's a lot that goes into what we look at before we get started.
So it's more to it than just going in there with your tools to find the ghosts or the spirits.
Yes.
So you can't save money? That's easy as pie. Drink from the tap. A $3 bottle of water a day times 10 years times 6% interest is over 14,000 clams. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feedthepig.org.
So you've got a lot of equipment here today.
Yes, we do.
Let's talk about some of it.
Okay. Well, the first one we have here is the male meter. It's a EMF detector and temperature detection all in one. So we can actually measure electromagnetic field readings and temperature readings at the same time. This particular model has a special built-in device back here, and it detects vibrations. So we can actually set this down and walk off, ask our questions, and if anything touches it, it makes a beeping noise. So the only way to actually set that off is for vibrations or for someone to actually touch it. So if it's sitting in the middle of the floor, no one's near it, and that sound goes off, we know something just touched it.
Aren't ghosts smart enough not to touch that?
Well, sometimes we can ask them to touch it. Could you let us know that you're here?
Oh.
Touch it for us, and sometimes they will respond. Sometimes you get spirits of children, and they're curious. What is that? And they get to touching it, and it sets it off. This is a probe. Is what that does. It takes ambient temperature. One of the theories in paranormal investigations is that when a ghost manifests itself, it gets cold. That's why in Hollywood, when you see a ghost show itself and you see her breath, that's where that comes from. That's the theory behind it. That's one of the things that Hollywood does get right. And that the theory behind that is that ghosts sucks up the energy to manifest themselves, and that's why it gets cold. And this will actually tell us the temperature, and it's telling me right now it's 68 degrees in this room. So that's one device. This device can actually record all the readings at the same time. So, if we got a question about something, we can always go back and look at it. Another important piece of equipment that we have is the EVP or digital recorder. It's a normal digital recorder you can get offline in your stores. Some are a little bit more advanced than others. This one actually does a 360 degrees recording around it. And this actually picks up what we call EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, or the sounds of the dead or ghost. EVP, pretty much, if we pick up the sound or the whatever it is on this recorder, and we didn't hear it with our natural ears, then it's an EVP. But if we heard it with our natural ears, then it's a disembodied voice. So this, we can record, when do our investigation, and when we go back and review this, you'll hear Dave or Sandy or Jeff ask a question. You'll actually hear, like in the last case we did, he asked a question, and then a few seconds later we heard the voice of someone saying soldier. It was very soft, and it wasn't in the tone of the voice of any of our investigators. So we knew that that was definitely something, because they were the only two in the room, and it did not match none of their voices.
So do ghosts speak in complete sentences or just one-word phrases?
Honestly, it depends on the location. You can go to places that people claim are just busting with paranormal activity, and just get one word, like yes or no, or if you ask them what is your name, Paul or Stephanie or whatever. And then some you'll get actually say she murdered me, or she hurt me, or he hurt me. You'll actually get a few like little broken sentences, and that actually helps us in our investigation to find out what's going on. So yeah, there are times where they can speak in sentences, but it's very rare.
So do you have cameras too, where you record any activity in a room?
Yes,
where you're doing?
We have a few cameras here. We have the first one is what we call a trap camera. Actually, this one right here is manufactured and used for hunters, to look for deer and different types of game while they're hunting. We can actually set this up in a room where they claim there's a lot of activity, and leave the room if there's any type of motion, because it also detects motion and it detects temperature changes. So if anything walks by, it detects the temperature change, detects motion, it snaps a picture. And we actually got a case right now where me and myself and another investigator's in a room. It detected us, it went off, and in the background you see like a little form. And went and looked at the next picture, which was taken 4 seconds later, and it's not there. And we've analyzed it. We cannot come up with no reason why it should be there. So it's definitely something that's interesting. And so that's what that does. We have other cameras here. We have one that's called the full spectrum camera, which is a normal camera that's been modified to film in the full spectrums. Full spectrum meaning from UV all the way to infrared. You know how you go into skating rinks or whatever, and they got the black lights. When you walk into the room, you look like you got a clean shirt, and as soon as you get underneath the black lights, it's just like Fuzzball City. Well, that's the UV spectrum, and it sees from that line all the way up to IR. And so it can see things that our normal eyes can't see. That's one camera, and we also have that goes to our DVR system. We've got 4 cameras, and they go to a central location, which we call our ops center or comms, and we have people sitting there watching the monitor, and we place these at different locations of the house, and we can actually watch it live as it happens. So if a door opens, we can see it as it happens, and it records onto a hard drive. And we've got 4 of those. and they're all in night vision with the infrared lighting. That's what all the little lights here that you see right here are the infrared lighting that helps you see in the dark. That's what that's what helps with the night vision technology. And the other camera we have is just a normal Sony handheld high def camera. It's got night vision technology. We call this our static cam because we can set it up on a location, film a location. If we decided we needed to move it, we can just pick it up with the tripod and move, and we can go with it. We have a few of these that we also carry around with us as we're doing our investigation. But we also have these things here, which are IR cubes, which is just infrared lighting. And what that does is that amplifies the light in the room so you can see a lot better with our cameras. And we've got 4 of these that helps with our cameras. Now we put in the hot locations, what they call the hot spots. And we use those mainly on bigger locations, auditoriums, warehouses, schools, or big restaurants.
So you've got a lot of equipment here, and I know you know that ghosts aren't on our schedule. So how long does it take to actually see something happen?
Dave, I'll let Dave answer this one.
Well, the main thing in paranormal field is ghosts do not operate on cue. So we could see something while we're setting up and not see anything during the investigation itself. And we could see something while we're breaking down. So it's just whenever there's enough energy for it to manifest itself, and when it wants to manifest itself, then it can and it will. So ghosts just, as you said, they're not on our schedule, they're on their own. So that's pretty much how that works, whether it's a line of questioning you ask, whether you have something that's called a trigger object, which could be, say we're in a location where a lot of Civil War soldiers passed away. Well, if we have a Civil War bullet, that's something that obviously they can relate to, and that may help a spirit to manifest itself. So it really depends, again, whether you ask a correct line of questioning or it just wants to show itself to you.
I mean, you can go into a location and the homeowner or the business owner is just up and down. Yes, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. And we can go in, spend 6 hours investigating, and nothing happened. And they can say, we know we want you to come back, it's happening, we know it's here. And we can come back the second night, and this is Grand Central Station, it's just hot with activity. And we're literally chasing throughout the whole place trying to capture it all. So it's really, you know, it's like Dave said, it's what and when they want to do it. I mean, sometimes you can do things like he said, trigger objects or a line of questioning. One little thing that people like to do is the old shaving a haircut thing. You know, dot 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 dot. You can do the shaving a haircut. You know, knocking on the wall and tell them, hey, could you finish this song for us? And knock on the wall. And sometimes I know my experience. I've actually had them answer it. You know, dot 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 dot. And then in a few seconds they'll go dot dot, and actually knock on the wall, and you're like, did you hear that? And so you're like, okay, cool, you know, on to the next one. So, I mean, yes, they're definitely on their own time schedule, but, you know, it's a weird, and that's why we do this, to figure out what it is they do. You know, so.
So do ghosts normally come out at nighttime, or do you see them during the day?
Honestly, paranormal activity happens 24/7. The
Oh.
reason people experience it more often at nighttime is because they're more relaxed. They're home from work, they're winding down, they're getting the kids to bed, it's quiet, they're getting, you know, got their shower, they're getting in bed, and all of a sudden they're hearing noises, or they're laying in bed asleep and they're hearing noises or whatever. That's because they're more open to it. During the day, you're not really going to experience it more because, I got to hurry, I got to get to school, got the kids to work, you know, whatever. You know, you're busy, so you're not really paying attention to that door opening by itself, you know, because you're so busy doing your own thing. You're more susceptible to hearing it and experiencing it at night than you will in the day.
You know, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I want to ask you some more questions about ghosts here in Charlotte. I'm going to take...
Does your favorite nonprofit struggle with outdated computers, send newsletters through snail mail, or ask you to send checks because they can't process credit cards? If you answered yes to any of these questions, NPower Charlotte region is here to help. Whether nonprofits are giving hope to our homeless neighbors or bringing arts and culture to our community, NPower provides technology solutions that can help accomplish these missions. Visit npowercharlotteregion.org to learn how we are changing the world of nonprofits through technology.
I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson. A couple of weeks ago, I had the paranormal investigators here on my show to talk about ghosts and spirits. And I invited them to come back so they could show us all of the tools that they use. Now, you told me that you had another tool called the Ghost Box. What is that?
Well, the Ghost Box is just a AM/FM radio that's been modified.
Oh.
So what you do is there's a certain way you got to modify this, and the purpose of it is it just cycles through the stations without stopping. It just keeps cycling, generating white noise. And the theory is that you are able to communicate, i.e., in live time with the spirits.
Oh, like that movie White Noise. I remember that.
I was a very big skeptic of this particular device at one point until I got to go on an investigation in a haunted sanitarium in Radford, Virginia, and the godfather of the paranormal, John Zaffis, actually trained myself and Dave Hodges on this particular device, and made me a believer, made me a big believer. So what you would do, turn this radio on, get it cycling, lock it in, generating the white noise, and you can ask a question, how many people are here? And all of a sudden, if you listen carefully, you'll hear them say 4 or 3. What is your name? Paul. The trick with this is you've got to really train yourself to listen to the same voice. You'll hear different sounds coming through, but what you want to look for is that same sound, that same tone of voice that keeps coming through every time that's responding to your line of questioning. Really cool device. I really like it a lot. Highly recommend it. So that's what the Ghost Box is, and that's what it does. There's different models, different variations of them, but this is the particular one that we use. We've got 3 of these actually, and these are the ones that we use. Dave has something called a laser grid that he's going to talk to you about.
Okay.
That's right. This is one of my favorite pieces of equipment. Of course, obviously, you see this is handheld, and you can also buy some that are you are able to actually plug into the wall and point down a hallway. And basically, what the laser grid is obviously those are what they are, and they shine a light. Say if you're in an abandoned hospital, and people say, well, we see shadows all the time walking from room to room, walking down the hall, or however, and you can actually take the laser grid and point it in the direction you want. And supposedly the theory is that if there are shadow entities walking back and forth, they will walk in front of the beam. And you can actually see, when you have all the lights down here, when you can see something cross. And normally you would also you would stick an infrared night vision camera on that hallway to capture any movement from the laser grid.
Yeah, pretty much. If we can do this, I don't know if it'll affect the set anyway, but if you shine it right there, you can actually see the actual grid, and if Dave can move his hand across it,
Probably better on the
you
bottom.
actually can see the, and I'll shine it right there. Dave can actually move his hand, and you can see the shadow. This is the portable one that we carry on us, and like I said, this is the stationary one that we can plug in, put it in the hallway, and just leave the room and put a camera up behind it and just let it do its thing.
So you mentioned Ouija boards. We all have one. I had one when I was a teenager, and I fiddled around with it, and that was about it.
We don't all have them.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Well, I've had one. I had one growing up. So does that open a door for a spirit to come into
yes.
someone?
Yes, it
Yes.
certainly can.
The Ouija board,
And
the
not
way
in a good way.
Right.
I look at the Ouija board as like living in a very bad neighborhood and leaving your door open at night. Anything and everything is going to walk in.
Oh.
You mess with a Ouija board and have no idea what you're doing. You think it's just a game. You're going to open the door to unseen forces, and that's what's hard for people to understand here in the Bible Belt of the United States. Is that these things can open doors for demonic entities to come in, and when these demonic entities come in and take up residence in your house, they can attract negative human spirits to come in as well. It's like a magnet, and it can go from bad to worse really quick.
And they sell those things in stores every day.
Well,
Yes, that's true.
it's like I said, a lot of people, they don't look in the paranormal as it being real. They don't look. They think it's things just fairy tales, stories, legends, lore. There's no truth in behind it. And if they've seen what I have seen, and this team has seen, and other paranormal teams have seen, they would realize this is a dangerous thing. We need to get it out of here. The Ouija board has been around a long time. It's been around for hundreds of years. And in some cultures, in some cases, it has been used to summon demons and dark forces.
Oh my God.
So I try to educate people when you see these things, stay away from them because it can make your life really bad, really quick.
And you don't have to buy one for it to work.
Oh,
I've
really?
seen people make them on a piece of paper, and it'll do the same thing. It's the intention behind it. It's not the board itself.
Yes.
I wonder why my parents bought me that.
They did.
It's like I said. It's like I said here in the Bible Belt. A lot of people don't believe in the paranormal. Oh, it's just a game, ain't no big deal, and they don't look at it as harmful. If they realize the history behind it, and some of the Ouija boards that are out there actually have demonic symbols and entities carved into them or drawn upon them, and these things are designed after deities, demonic forces. And when people don't realize that how dangerous these things can be.
You mentioned one last question. You mentioned possession. What exactly is that?
Possession is when a entity takes full control of the human mind, body, everything. The person that's inside, say if Dave was possessed, Dave cannot control what he's saying or what he's doing or what he's thinking. He's under complete submission of the demonic or entity that's inside him. The demon or the demonic spirit or entity can actually get inside of your body and control you and cause you to harm your family, even cause you to harm yourself. There's been cases of people who have been possessed and actually committed suicide. So the case of Emily Rose, the famous movie that came out, that was a real case that happened in Germany. The little girl that it happened to died because she starved to death because the demon wouldn't let her eat, wouldn't let her drink. So she starved to death.
So why do the demons come inside of us? That's a stupid question.
Well, demonic forces are, if you look at it on the religious realm, are falling angels. They have no agenda but to harm mankind. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to be friends with you. They don't want to, work with you. Or all they care about is killing, stealing, and destroying everything within that person. It's pretty much like a really, really, really bad person. If you want to look at it like that.
Robbing you of your soul.
Exactly. They want to destroy everything that you are, and that's why they do it. The demonic spirit was never human. Never human at any point. They were, like I said, if you look at it on the religious plane, they were fallen angels. So, that's why they're here. That's why they're around. And those cases, and I want people to understand, demonic cases and possessions are very rare. They're not like Hollywood, where it's just like happening all over the place. Demonic cases and possessions are very rare. So people need to realize that these things are real. They're out there and they can happen, but they are rare, and you got to be careful.
I want to ask each one of you a personal question before we close. What is your religious background? How does that tie into what you're doing now?
I am the lone Jew in the group. And as far as I've ever been taught, paranormal doesn't tie into Judaism. There aren't really ghosts in the Torah. So I'm stepping outside my religious beliefs.
I was raised Catholic. I'm currently what you could call a non-practicing Catholic, because I've been away from the church for a number of years. But one of the beliefs within the Catholic Church is, of course, it's Christianity, so you have heaven and hell. There's also what's called purgatory, which is basically a second chance for anybody that may have committed like a mortal sin. Purgatory basically gives them a second chance. And the Catholic Church, as it is, doesn't necessarily believe in ghosts per se. But they don't disclose the idea of God allowing somebody in purgatory to reach out to the living in order to resolve an issue, or to make up for any wrongdoing, until all that's taken care of, so that they can get into heaven.
Oh, okay.
I was raised in a Baptist home. It's been many years since I have been to church. I'm sorry to say that. But no one in my family's had a problem with me doing this. I was saying that this is not. I mean, we are not out there summoning dark forces. We, as Chris has said, we go into homes looking to help people, and that is why we do this, to help others who are affected by this, who don't know what it is and want it gone. So I was raised Baptist.
I was raised in the Pentecostal Church of God religion, which everybody knows that's the pew jumping, shouting around the aisles and hallelujah and all that stuff. And that's the way I was raised. You know, the tent revivals, the evangelist, and that's the way I was raised my whole life. And until my experience in Fort Leonard Wood, I believed there was no such thing as ghosts. It was just something that was told around campfires, you know, so on Halloween, you know. So, you know, yeah, I did not believe in ghosts until I had my experience. My religion helps me a lot. We say prayers as a group before we go in, and we say a prayer after we leave. I say a prayer of protection, that nothing may harm me or follow me home, because in cases these things can follow us home. So my religion helps me a lot. I read my Bible. I study it, looking for guidance, looking for answers. Of course, my family doesn't necessarily approve of what I do, and they just look at it as nonsense, you know. But you know, my family still loves me, and they still, you know, support me. But you know, yeah, my religion has definitely played a big part in what I do. It's really played the big part as far as protecting me. I don't let the religion make my final decision. I let my evidence, my personal experience, and my knowledge and all my experience make my final decision on what's going on in the house. You know, and like I said, like Dave said, you know, we're here to do everything we can to help an individual that's having hauntings.
Thank you all so much for joining me.
Yes, ma'am.
I have learned a lot today, and I know my viewers have learned a lot too. You all going to have to come back again.
Most certainly.
Anytime.
Be happy
Maybe
to.
we could follow you on a sighting.
We'd
I don't know.
be glad to have you guys along.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.